Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from learning from other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Sarah. Sarah often shares her story of being addicted to cocaine. She had a whirlwind of a journey down a road that no one would knowingly choose for themselves. Now, looking back, she is using her story to empower and encourage those in her world of addiction to crawl out and find their true north. Founder of the Facebook group Perpetual Motion, where she gives real hope to women who are ready to rebuild their lives after addiction. Welcome, Sarah.
What an intro that was. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do the best. I do the best for the best.
Here.
Good. I'm glad. I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm so thrilled that you are taking a little bit of time out of your day to sit down with us and share a little bit about your journey and all of the awesome, inspiring things that you have chosen to do with your life, despite of your past. And I think that your story is so inspiring because a lot of times people go through things in their life and then they kind of stay in this like little shell of a human because they don't feel as if they're worthy of doing anything because of their past. So I just love that you're just like, screw this. I'm doing whatever I want. And I'm going to make sure that my story helps other people. And I just love women like you.
Thank you. I just think, I was having a conversation with somebody this morning, actually, and I said to her, part of what drives me is that I fought a silent battle for a really long time. And addiction is one of those things that it's really hard to fess up to talk about, to even admit to yourself, right? Like, we all get that. And just so to bring others out of that darkness, addiction thrives in isolation, right? And to help bring others out of that darkness, to make it safe for them, that is basically my mission. So whilst I don't enjoy going, hey, here's all the things that I messed up, essentially by doing so and owning that truth, I'm letting myself off of the hook for a start for the person I have been that's got me to here. But also, other people can hear this story and think, wow, she can own up to having had a drug problem when her child was 2 and under, then, maybe I can tell my husband that I do a bit of speed every now and again, or whatever it is for that person, and it just gives them some hope and comfort that actually this isn't the end of the road for them. It's just the start. Yeah. That is why I share so openly about all of the stuff. And it's not just the good stuff, it's the bad stuff as well. Like, it's not all just sunshine and lollipops because you decide to quit drugs and choose a better life. Every day is not, amazing, but far more amazing than it ever could have been had I still been in active addiction.
Yeah, 100%. Let us all know before we jump in, where are you from? Where are we listening to you at?
I'm in Essex in the UK.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you being here. And I would love to just kind of start this podcast off by kind of giving you the floor for a few minutes. You can kind of give us an overview of, your childhood, teenage, adult years, and kind of the flow that happened within your life. And we're going to dig into some really awesome questions and, find out how you came out of that, where you are now, and all that goodness.
I haven't quite nailed the part of getting this story down to a really succinct 3 minutes, but I'm going to do my best.
Whatever.
Go ahead and just interrupt me if this turns into a long meandering diatribe, okay?
Okay.
So, from the TOP, I am one of 4. I'm the oldest of four. My youngest sister is 10 years younger than me, and I grew up with an alcoholic father and a mum who's very Christian, right? So my alcoholic father was Egyptian. He, was very set in his ways. In that sense, he was a Muslim, but he wasn't a practicing Muslim. But what that meant was when my mum would try and take us to church on a Sunday, there would be big stand-up rows in the street. He didn't want to take us to mosque, but he didn't want us going to church. And so from a very early age, Sarah created these beliefs. Little Sarah created these beliefs. It's not safe to have beliefs, right? We just keep it zipped, and everything's okay. Alongside his alcoholism came, aggression and violence. It was a regular thing for me to be told, if you hear mummy screaming, dial 999. As I was growing up. Now, this has an impact on a small girl, obviously. I didn't realise this at the time. This was just my life. And that's how it is, isn't it? And so throughout my childhood, my dad would go to Egypt and he would say he was going for 2 weeks and he would rock up 6 months later, which, again, little Sarah started to create these stories like, he doesn't love you. You're not worth staying in the UK for. You're not important enough for him to want to be our home. You must be really annoying, right? Obviously, I had no idea that I was making up these stories. I was just making the evidence fit, the scenario.
Yeah.
And so I proceeded to have these stories run on repeat all through my adolescence when I first discovered, speed and weed and, just kind of low-level stuff. Started to become a bit of a rebel without a cause. Now, at this time, my dad would take me to the pub with him at 13 years old, and I would smoke with him and I would drink with him and I would get absolutely white girl wasted, right? I'd be like 9 bottles of Budweiser at 13, 14 years old in my school uniform in the pub. And I thought it was ever so cool. My dad let me drink, yeah? My dad let me smoke. What was really happening was he was buying me off, making up for poor parenting, making up for the deceit and the lies that were a way of life for him, right? He was a compulsive liar. If you asked him what he had for lunch, he'd tell you he had fish and chips when really he had a pizza, right? Like pointless lies.
Yeah.
But that was it. And throughout this time, he was still going to Egypt. At one point, we found out that he had married somebody else in Egypt on one of these trips while he was still married to my mum. Had 4 of us here in the UK. Again, reinforcing the story. You mean nothing. You're not important. And then he died when I was 17. So that was when my love affair with drugs began. Now, it took me until a year ago to make the connection between my dad's death and the love affair with drugs, which sounds ridiculous in hindsight. But even when it was suggested to me, Sabrina, I couldn't even hear that suggestion. I would go absolutely apeshit, like to the point of like, how dare you? I never thought about my dad while I was sniffing coke. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do as a party girl. I like doing it, and it's only been with recovery and the healing journey that I've started to see, okay, all right, now let's face the real truth. And so I started taking ecstasy. My whole 20s was, in nightclubs and darkened rooms. And I discovered coke at that time as well. But I just, it was one of them things I could take it, leave it, didn't really care about it. Wasn't my best friend, whatever. That was when I was 20. By the time I was 27, it was a necessity. And by the time the lockdown hit last year, I was doing like £500 every 10 days or something. Where I was getting £500, don't even ask me. I don't know what that is in dollars, say $600. This is a lot of freaking money. And I'm a single mum with a 3-year-old now. And it just all got too much, right? And what I realised last week actually was, and it was literally an epiphany moment last week, that lies really trigger me because they make me remember all of this backstory that I've just shared with you. And as I was journaling about it and realising that actually, my dad tried to buy me off with booze and fags, that it was a sense of abandonment that I had felt consistently throughout my life. And his death was just the ultimate abandonment. It was just one more, the final abandonment of them all. Wow. And I spent the rest of my life abandoning myself as a consequence. And I was just like, oh my God.
Wait, you figured that out through journaling? Like you started to journal?
I figured, if I tell you how I figured this out, Sabrina, you will actually piss yourself laughing, okay? I figured this out because my son didn't wipe his ass when he went for a poo, okay? This sounds like a very random connection. But what happened was, he didn't tell me. I went apeshit. like way more so than what the situation warranted, which made me look at myself and say, Sarah, what the heck is going on for you right now, girlfriend? Because he's a 3-year-old, yeah. And I realised that it was the lie that triggered me. And I was like, he's 3. He doesn't understand lying like I understand lying.
Yeah.
And then bam, I was like, oh my God, it's because your dad lied to you for your whole freaking childhood. And as I started journaling on that, I was writing, what did I make this mean that he lied to me? And I made it mean all of the things that I just said. You're worth nothing. You're not important enough to stay in the UK for. I don't care about you. What you want doesn't matter. You're just a stupid little girl. You're not worthy of the truth. And I made it mean all of these things, and I was devastated. And I mean, this was literally last Sunday I realised this, not yesterday, last weekend, yeah? Or 2 days ago, last weekend. And as I was journaling it and writing it down, I'd written down the word abandonment, and all of a sudden I literally was like, oh my goodness me, this is like literally the reason for everything that has ever happened.
Wow.
I felt abandoned, and I have replicated that behaviour by abandoning myself for 20 years, hooked on class A drugs.
Wow.
Because of that. And I was just, honestly, the freedom that I felt from realising that truth was insane. But the sadness that weighed down upon me for that little girl who just didn't feel like she was anything important and has taken that belief with her into adulthood, I just was devastated. Only lasted a day, managed to get it all out. But since then, I realised maybe 2 or 3 days ago that what was missing from my life most was stability. And I sought stability in drugs. Drugs was always there for me. Drugs never let me down.
Wow.
Right? Drugs was the consistent in my life.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have it elsewhere. I've never had stability in my relationships. Of course I haven't. I was a cokehead. I was out my nut for days on end. I never had stability in my finances. Of course I didn't. I spent it on freaking drugs. Never had stability in my mental health. Of course I didn't. I was constantly on a come down. Right? And so the one thing that was stable forever was drugs. And so these are the realizations that are coming thick and fast at me right now. Literally in the last 8 or 9 days.
Congratulations. Wow.
That's huge, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I love and I believe that the reason that these have come to you is because of the work that you've been doing.
Oh, for sure.
Mentally and emotionally. People don't do that. And that's one of the things that I want to talk to you about is just, why don't people dive into, this stuff? Why do you think?
Because
there's so many people that don't dive into self-development or personal growth? What's your thoughts?
Okay, so the immediate thing is that I think a lot of people are unaware that it even exists, right? I certainly wasn't 3 years ago, until I stumbled across coaching by accident, really. It never would have occurred to me to work on my mindset. What the hell is mindset anyway?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've always been a student of life and would be one of those people that constantly wants to better myself. But to me, that looked like, get a degree or, learn another language or whatever. It never was internal work. I'd never even heard of the term inner work. And so I think a lot of people don't know about it is one thing. Another thing is that it can be freaking ugly and messy. And, Pandora's box is full of crap that we don't want to look at. It's in that box for a reason, right? So what crazy person is going to go, I know I've got a spare half hour. Let's go and have rummage around in some of my old crap that I haven't dealt with. No one.
Yeah.
But we know that once you do start to look inwards for the answers, for me, it was a lifelong search of looking everywhere outside of myself for answers. Why am I like this? What's going to fix me? And I paid a lot of money on theta healing and this and that and different, all different holistic therapies and hypnotherapy and all the rest of it, thinking, oh, maybe this one thing will fix me.
Yeah.
The fixing came from me. Yeah. I had to fix me. Yeah. I had to be willing to look at myself and go, okay, what is going on here? And what are you going to do about it? Nobody could tell me that, could they? Only I knew. And I didn't think that I knew. But that was a convenient lie to help me to have an excuse to get on it.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah, I agree with you. But
Really?
It's a shame to me. It's a shame that so many people don't know about it. And that's part of why I do this. It's part of why I bring, women like you onto the podcast is to continuously push the thought process of how important it is for us to work on our mindset, because we go through all this schooling, and then college and then church, if you're, any sort of religious type person,
Mm,
and never are we sat down and taught how to like deal with our inner feelings, our inner thoughts, our
exactly.
communication, our anger,
Exactly that. And so, I've had this rage for many years. And it's not like I'm particularly an angry person, but there are times when I'm just like literally see red and it's like all hell breaks loose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm never violent, but I'm a banger of things. I'm a shouter. I'm just going to say whatever comes into my mouth and you can deal with it. You shouldn't have made me angry
Yeah.
person. And then afterwards, I'm just like, well, it leaves me as fast as it comes on me. And because I know that I was just in a rage, I don't worry about it. But, the person on the other end of it is just like, you can't say that. And I'm like, oh, I didn't mean it, did I? Obviously. But you can't unsay it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've had to learn to be very careful because I can do a lot of damage with my words. I know that I can, and we all can. Yeah. Like a word will stay with you forever. Slap is over and done with. But what people will say to you
Yeah.
can change you forever, right?
Yeah.
And so in the same way, the good things that people say to you can change you forever, right?
Yeah.
And so like this rage has been something that I have just thought, well, it's just me. Yeah, it's just me. But realizing actually that rage came from a place of my inner child had been unseen, unheard, unacknowledged. Like I didn't even know that I was her and she was me. I didn't even know she was there. I didn't know she was crying her eyes out every freaking day because she felt sad that her daddy didn't love her the way that she needed.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea. How would I know that?
Yeah.
And I think so many people got so many stories from the past that are running the show now and they are unaware. And on the face of it, you just think, well, how is Chase like not telling me that he's been to the toilet? Led me to this massive epiphany. But as you said, it's because of the work that I
Yeah.
have done on myself that has allowed me to have the wisdom and the insight to make the connections, to understand how to look deeper and to have the courage to look deeper and to be able to then do something with that information.
Yeah. 100%. I want to ask, in all of the years, from childhood through where you are now, what do you think was like the biggest challenge that you went through in your life? And then what did you learn from that challenge?
Right. Um, where to begin with that? Okay. The greatest challenge, I think, has been for me in recovery, in all honesty. Like, there's been many different challenges and trials and tribulations, but drugs has always got me through all of them. Anything before I discovered drugs, I don't really remember. And anything since I discovered drugs, well, don't really remember that either. Do you know what I mean? But what I do know is that drugs got me through it. And so recovery has been the biggest eye opener for me because I've had to find ways to identify what I'm feeling, feel it, be okay with feeling it, not try and change what I'm feeling and wishing it away or pushing it down or sleeping it away, smoking it away, drinking it away, sniffing it away, whatever it is that I chose to do. Like just going at it and going, okay, this is it. Let's go. Let's go work. Right. And just finding ways to show up and be okay and be consistent and forgive myself. Oh my God, that's been a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Because that Sarah was highly unreliable. She was
Yeah.
not, I was never a bad person. Do you know what I mean? I would never have sold my mum for crack, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But equally, I didn't turn up for her 60th birthday. Like my whole family was there. My brother and my sisters didn't show up. I was on a bender.
Wow.
Things like this. And it's just, there's been a lot of reconciliation with myself. And some of the stories that I share online and stuff, I'm just like, God, what are people going to think? And then I think, actually, I've made peace with me for this. And only God can judge me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to what I'm saying and it's not resonating, that's cool. You're not my peeps. I send you on your way with love. You don't need to talk me down in the process. Like I'm just here trying to do my best with what I've got now.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of work to go, like look back and not want to punch myself in the face for some of the things that I've done. But I have to thank that version of me because she got me to here.
Yeah.
She got me to here and it's been a long and windy road, let's say.
Yeah.
But without all those experiences, those falling off of the wagons, those lies, that deceit, that guilt, that shame, that self-hate, all of that, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be the coach that I am today. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be the leader that I am today. I had to have all that in my artillery in order to be able to help people in the most true and authentic way.
Yeah, definitely. How long have you been sober, by the way?
11 months.
Yes.
Yeah. 11
Is
months.
that
So
the
I
is
do
that the
drink. I
long
do drink, but I just don't sniff.
is that the longest that you've been sober?
Uh,
Oh,
yes. Well, actually, no. I tell a lie. While I was pregnant, I didn't sniff. And then for about 3 months after he was born, so probably maybe about 13 or 14 months in total.
wow.
But,
So you stopped doing drugs while you were pregnant.
oh my God, yeah, of course. Of course. So I found out that I was pregnant at about 5 weeks, which was a result of one night stands. So not something that I had planned, wanted, factored in. And when I found out, I was horrified, absolutely horrified. Had a panic attack, called a doctor every name under the sun, and proceeded to go on a 3-day bender after booking a termination immediately. Went out on a 3-day bender and literally didn't eat or sleep for those 3 days, just constant binge of coke and booze and cigarettes. And then the reality kicked in, the come down came, the sobriety came, and I was like, you just cannot end a life because you want to carry on partying. Like, are you that person? Like,
Wow.
no, you're not. And so from that instant, that was it. I didn't do it. And it was so easy to me. My child just was everything. And I realised that actually, as horrified as I had been just 3 days beforehand, this was actually the universe delivering me the gift that I needed to save my own life. And
Wow.
which then showed me that part of my drug taking was because my own life hadn't been worth saving to myself,
Yeah.
which was another big freaking eye opener.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Chase came and saved my life. And so the least I could do was give him
Yeah.
the best chance in life, and then just I wasn't that person, and it's a judgment-free zone for me, but for me, I couldn't have done it. And I gave up smoking immediately, I gave up drinking, everything, it wasn't a problem at all, not one craving, not one withdrawal symptom, not nothing, absolutely nothing. And so I had this drug-free life, but I was full of hormones. And so it was really, trying to get through things. Like, there was a lot of firsts is what happened. So it was like
Yeah.
the first anniversary of my dad's death without drugs. And now I'm like heavily pregnant. Like, what's going on? You can't make sense of nothing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been doing all the firsts again this year, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
But without, child inside.
Yes. So your son's name is Chase? Is that what you said?
His face, yeah.
Yes. Why Chase? How'd you pick that name?
I just love it. I'd heard it many, many years ago on a movie or something like this, and I said to myself, if I have a boy, I'm going to call him Chase. And so he was always Chase to me from the minute I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, please let it be a boy, let it be a boy, let it be a boy. And I really wanted a boy, and I just felt like it was a boy. And I said it's going to be Chase. My sister said to me, how can you decide he's going to be Chase? Like, he might not look like a Chase. And I'm like, girlfriend, it doesn't matter what he looks like. He's going to look like Chase to me because he's been Chase since like the day dot. Like, literally dot.
Wow, that's
And he
cool.
looks like a Chase, I think.
Very cool. I like that
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, he gets told it all the time. It's like, that's a
Yeah.
cool name. And I'm like, it's because you got a cool mum, kid.
Yes. Yes. 100%.